guys, welcome back or welcome to Crystal Lake Breaks. Today is Thursday, which means it's time for another Lip and Tear video. So for today, we're going to be opening up a pack of 21-22 Series 2 Hockey Blaster Pack, as well as a 21-22 Hockey Extended Series Fat Pack, while I read to you some Arizona folklore and tall tales. Our first story is about an area known as Slaughterhouse Canyon. The story of Slaughterhouse Canyon is one of the most notorious urban legends in Arizona. Its name, Slaughterhouse Canyon, was one earned through the dark story that allegedly occurred here. Originally, the canyon was known as Luana's Canyon, Luana being the name of the wife of a gold miner who had settled in the canyon, who was hoping to find riches and resources to pull his family out of poverty in the northwestern mountains nearby. This gold miner would regularly leave his family, seeking out some kind of bounty with which would allow him to provide his family with a better life. While away, the miner would also gather resources and food that he would return with and give to his family, ensuring that his children and that his wife would not need to venture out into the potentially dangerous surrounding area and always have food. As the story goes, one day this miner was unable to return. His fate remains unknown, with the likely case being his death due to circumstances related to a mining incident. Due to their reliance upon the miners' provided sustenance, the family began to panic, both because their husband and father had not returned, as well as because their supplies were beginning to dwindle in his absence. Used to the regular arrival of food and supplies from her husband, Luana had not practiced any sort of food rationing, which began to spell trouble for the remaining family members. As starvation and weakness began to enter the home, causing sickness, fatigue, and pain to afflict all within it, the children began to beg for food. Their empty stomachs led to cries and screams for nourishment of any kind. Luana did the best with what she had, but her remaining supplies dissipated almost immediately. Stranded without any means of help or rescue anywhere nearby, and without any supplies to make the journeys to safety, Luana began to descend into madness. The echoing wails and pleas within the confines of her four-walled prison caused symptoms of psychosis to develop. Feelings of paranoia, a decline in any possible hygiene, and an overwhelming sense of dread engulfed Luana's mind. At this point in time, many consider Luana to have completely lost her sanity. Tragedy was about to strike. One night, the sky highlighted by flashes of lightning, and the brittle bones of the family shaken by cracks of thunder, Luana would resort to the only thing her fractured mental state deemed acceptable at this point. Donning her wedding dress, Luana would go on to murder her own children, hoping to end their suffering. Beyond this, Luana was so far gone that she would supposedly chop their bodies up further, spraying the walls, furniture, and soaking the pristine white gown with dark red blood. This absolute butchery would inspire the name Slaughterhouse Canyon. The legend does not end there, however. Luana would reportedly take the pieces to the nearby river, tossing them into it. It is here that exhaustion and fatigue would cause her to collapse, the final moments of her life spent on a dusty riverbank in her now completely ruined wedding dress. In these final moments, Luana's wails and screams bounced around the canyon before finally falling quiet as she too would pass. The legend of Slaughterhouse Canyon remains alive and well in Arizona, with many ghost hunters and curious teenagers going to the spot. Rumors circulating that at night, sometimes the cries of the children can still be heard, or the bone-chilling wails of a woman driven to madness. Stories can also be heard about sightings of a woman in either a black or a white gown, spotted and when followed, disappearing suddenly. Some attribute these sightings to the story of La Llorona, but despite the similarities of these two stories, many living in Arizona continue to believe in two distinctly different weeping mothers. So that's the story of Slaughterhouse Canyon. Definitely a bone-chilling one, and very upsetting for Luana as she didn't have many options there. Obviously the one she took isn't necessarily the best one, but when you're driven to that level of desperation, it's hard to tell what people will do. There's a nice Dazzler right there of rope hints. Moving on to our next story. We're going to be talking about the 1987 Flagstaff, Arizona murder. The 1987 Flagstaff Murder is a story that seems to blur the lines between myth and fact. Involving a murder, Native American folklore, and the American legal system, the story remains an interesting testament to the truth that may lie behind Native American folklore in the region. Before diving into the details of the event, it's important to note that the story involves the potential acts of a Native American legend known as the Skinwalker. According to the story told by many, the Skinwalker was originally a medicine man who would end up turning to darkness and evil, gaining strange abilities. While these abilities can vary according to the storyteller, the general ability a Skinwalker has is to transform into other creatures and beings by donning its skin. For example, become a coyote by donning a coyote's pelt, also gaining the traits distinctive to that animal. Speaking of which, Young Gun of a Coyote, right there. Now, getting back to the 1987 Flagstaff murder, the story goes as follows. A woman's body would be found behind the Flagstaff Medical Center. The woman's body was found naked, badly bruised, and having suffered a significant amount of upper body stabs. And an even more terrifying addition to the finding, the left portion of her chest was seemingly bitten off. Due to the nature of the beating, authorities had some difficulty in identifying who the body was. After further investigation, the woman was found to be a member of the Navajo tribe and was named Sarah Saganitso. After identification, further information was uncovered about Sarah, including that she was a housekeeper for the hospital, but on the night she was murdered, it was her first time working the night shift. Additional odd details were that her car was parked in an entirely different direction on the east side of the hospital, while she was discovered on the west side. During the investigation of the murder, word spread about an English professor who had allegedly been having dreams about Sarah's murder. He told friends about the dreams, and when word reached the police, he was taken in for questioning. The man's name was George Abney, and during questioning, he would confess to the murder of Sarah Saganitso. His confession was accompanied by some odd details, specifically that he was unable to determine what had actually happened and what aspects were dreams. The case continued to get stranger. Abney would build a defense upon the belief that he was following God's will, and the prophecies revealed to him were in dreams and other messages. His defense team would suggest a different approach. They began to build a defense fully focused on the idea that a Skinwalker had attacked Sarah due to her Navajo Nation connection. They focused on the odd details that were also found at the scene of her murder, including a stick broken across her neck and an odd clump of grass, items that were argued to be tied to a magical ritual that a Skinwalker would perform. This defense would quickly fall apart in court, with the teeth marks on Sarah's chest seemingly matching George Abney's dental records and the alleged dreams, seeming to be more in line with confessions. Still, even after being found guilty, Abney would be acquitted a year later and cleared of all the charges. The family of the murder victim, Sarah Saganizzo, felt there was enough evidence to suggest the possibility of a Skinwalker attack and George Abney's innocence, leading the case to be reopened. Since 1988, this case continues to be unsolved. So what do you guys think of this one? The truth behind a long-told Native American legend? Or a man taking advantage of a family in distress about the death of their daughter, and who are also part of the Navajo Nation? Leave a comment on what you guys think about all this, what you guys think about, this folktale, this story. If you guys think that Abney did do it, and the family is incorrect in their thoughts here. And for our final story, we're going to talk about the Mogollon Monster. The final story is focused on a cryptid specific to Arizona. The cryptid is known as the Mogollon Monster due to its frequency of sightings within the Mogollon Rim in Arizona. Despite the frequency of sightings in this location, the first known sighting was actually in the Grand Canyon in 1903. Mogollon Monster is described most commonly as being a large cryptid, over 7 feet tall, and its presence has often been noted along with an odor similar to that of rotting meat or dead fish. It's often described as Arizona's Bigfoot due to the described appearance of a hairy, human-like build, with the face and head appearing slightly more square-shaped than that of a person. The behavior of the cryptid is often said to be territorial, but can become aggressive. It is said to be most active at night. Tracks supposedly belonging to the Mogollon Monster are supposedly 2 feet across. When hiking around Arizona at night, many witnesses to the Mogollon Monster describe it mimicking local wildlife sounds to blend in, but the most terrifying thing the creature does is scream like a banshee, striking fear into the hearts of all those listening. Campers in and around Arizona have often found these large Mogollon Monster tracks around their camp, with the cryptid supposedly poking around campsites after dark. So those are our 3 stories for this Lip and Tear video. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the 1987 Flagstaff murder? What do you guys think of Slaughterhouse Canyon? And what do you guys think of our first cryptid we talked about, the Mogollon Monster? I certainly hope I'm saying its name right, because I very well could not be. But let me know what you guys think. I thought this was a very different array of stories from the Lip and Tear video I did about Jersey last Thursday. I found Jersey stories to be far more focused on, the devil, hence the Jersey Devil and the Deviltry. Whereas these being far more focused on like stories that you would probably hear on the frontier about, like Slaughterhouse Canyon, or about this monster you might find while camping, while the Flagstaff murder is definitely more of like a true crime type story, which is also something I might talk about on these Lip and Tear Thursdays, depending on if you guys like it or not. But being that all these cards have been torn, the stories have been told, and the candle is burning low, it looks like I'm gonna have to tell you guys good night, and I will see you next time here at Crystal Lake Breaks. So thanks for joining me, guys. Drop a like, drop a comment, and hopefully subscribe for more. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you guys next time.